Welcome to Straight Out of Savannah, Talking with Tammi, a podcast that showcases people you may not know who are choosing to use their gifts to inspire and move the planet.
Thank you so much for joining us on Straight Out of Savannah. I am so excited. I have a beautiful spirit here with us today. Destiny Firestack is here, and she is going to tell you exactly who she is. She's going to repronounce her name so that it's correct. And she's going to tell you all about herself, and then we'll get into it. So Destiny, take us away.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. It's really fun and I love being able to just share with the world. So my name is Destiny Firestack and yeah, I'm in Alaska. So I understand like small towns and like, people being super close and I get like I understand like communities and I love it. I so first and foremost, I'm a trauma and nervous system informed coach. I just work with women in the beauty industry and kind of beyond. So women anywhere who are like entrepreneurs and business owners. Essentially, it's to be able to grow, help somebody grow and succeed, but through a different lens, through a lens of I understand and I am focusing on how your body is responding to something that is happening or happened to you and how that's affecting just your daily life. I focus a lot on somatic work and the soma, so like the body, like embodiment is huge in my approach. But yeah, I've had this lifelong of just, some people would call it like tragedy stuff, but at the end of the day, I think it really was the gift to me almost. Like I look at the things that have happened to me as like it didn't happen to me, it happened for me. And that was the first second I started shifting my mindset a lot on like healing and who am I and going on my journeys and spiritual journeys. And I was a hairdresser for 5 years and now I help grow salon teams and like I just work with people one on one and ultimately I just show people like it's okay to be a human being and you are allowed to put yourself first and unapologetically do that. But in order to do that, we have to be able to tap into ourselves first and foremost before we can focus on any of the external stuff, any of that. So I get into the root cause, a lot of the internal stuff that is vulnerable. And then we go, okay, well, you know, oh, well, I don't, for example, someone could say, I'm not making enough money. I want to make more money behind the chair or whatever I'm doing. And it would always, you could say, and they just won't pay me. So that's where I kind of get into, I would start, it's not even mindset work, it's embodiment work. It's really getting into like, well, let's get into your money story. Let's get into the subconscious like programming. Let's get into your childhood. Let's get into like where these root narratives are coming from, because then as long as we can shift the perspective, you're going to shift your entire life.
Yes.
So, but yeah, it's very complex and deep, but it's everyone's unique journey is different and I just feel like I told myself one day I'm going to be the person that I wish I had back when it was me.
Yes. That's so powerful. That is so. So let's talk about your journey.
Okay.
Um, Share what was the catalyst to make you to start doing this work? I mean, what was the thing that made you say, I like doing hair, but there's something deeper? What was that like for you?
I think a huge part of it was so my entire life, so for one, I have complex PTSD. I was diagnosed with it like 5 years ago. And I knew that there was always something like about me where I was just feeling like I was always like two people or something. And my
Hmm.
life was very chaotic and manic from a very young age, like the whole nine. Parents got divorced really young. I went down a really bad path. You know, I was the only girl in a house full of boys with my brothers and my dad. Didn't have my mom, for the firsts of things I needed her for. So I had a lot of issues from that really young. And then I started like dating these just abusive guys because didn't have a model to look at. And
Right.
I think a lot of that just led to it's almost like I try to describe it this way. It was the straw that broke the camel's back for me was my current husband. He's my best friend. I've known him for 10 years, and he went to go train and do training just with the military for 5 months. And for me, that was the absolute hardest thing because it's hard for anybody, I would think, but for me specifically, I lived with the most debilitating abandonment trauma, and it was to the point where I couldn't even go on long drives by myself because I was
Mm.
so scared to be alone. Like I was terrified. I had experienced so much trauma with being alone that it was just not an option for me. So I love him, right, so much that I'm like, I want you to be happy. You need to do the things you want to do. So you want to, go do this. So he leaves and he goes and does it. And I think the first 3 weeks he was gone, I'm pretty sure I blacked out. I don't remember that. And because I was trying to process like, oh, this is so
Right.
weird. I'm
And
just in
trying to
the
figure it
house.
out, right?
Yeah, I'm in the house like by myself. And I feel like any person who has a spouse that leaves for work, like you understand that. But if you're
I
somebody
do.
who understands it from a traumatic lens, from an
Right.
informed lens, then you're like, oh, this is not just, oh, I miss him. This is everything that happened in my life from when I was 12 is all coming up. So,
For me, it was 3 weeks.
yeah.
That was all. 3 weeks.
Yep.
My husband was gone 3 weeks. And I was like, oh my God, I don't like this.
Yeah. It was it was like, okay, I'm gonna figure myself out, I guess. I'm gonna figure it out. So I started going on this journey, this healing journey. I actually started practicing like Reiki. I started getting into so many like different woos of myself. And I'm like, who am I? Who is this person? Right. And she's been in there. She's been deep, deep in there. I've just never let her out. I don't know
Right.
why. And so when I was behind the chair, I was starting to struggle. Everything that I suppressed for my entire life and
Started
pushed
coming up.
down, 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 it all was coming up. And I was like, oh my gosh, I was a mess, hot mess express. And so
I
it
love
was
that.
bad. Yeah. It was, I was like breaking down in front of clients and crying and like doing things I wouldn't normally do. I used to be able to turn it on and off at work. You would never even know there's something wrong at work. But it was just, I couldn't hold things in anymore. And so while I'm just by myself in the house, right? It's like, well, this is probably my time I need to take to heal and grow and get through a lot of trauma that's coming up. And that's what I started doing. And I didn't get to hear from my husband for the first like 2 months more than 3 times on the phone. So I was literally just by myself. I mean, I have like friends and family and all that stuff, but it's not the same. So,
Yes.
you're by yourself. At the end of the day, you're going to bed. You're in your house by yourself, right?
Mm,
And you're
right.
just waiting for your husband to call. You're like, so I told him I wrote him a letter because we could communicate with letters. And I told him everything that's been what's going on and like the stuff I'm struggling with. And like, but I said, I'm ready. I think I need this. Like, this has been a long time coming in my life that I've been avoiding dealing with.
Yes. Yes.
So, because I knew it was going to hurt. And so I just was like, all right, it's ready to come up. It's going to come up. Let's do this. But I need to quit my job. And he was like, honestly, he said, and this is why I love him. He said, I don't care what you need to do. I just want to make sure you're okay. If you need to quit your job, quit your job. I'll take care of us. It's okay. Like that was no questions asked. That was one of the things that like he was like, do what you need to do to put yourself first. And that's why I love him.
Oh,
And so
that's awesome.
yeah, and knowing that he's training with the military for like security forces stuff, like he's out there being a total badass. Oh, and
You're
and
good.
I am over here like can't even function, right?
Right.
And he's like, "You're fine. It's fine. Just it's okay. You can slow down. You can," because behind the chair, I was really successful, and that's a huge part of it. I was chasing money. I wanted to be like, right. I mean, I was making like those $10,000 months you hear about everywhere, whatever, right? It was like,
Mm-hmm.
if I had that, I made it. Like, whoo, I'm here. And everyone that told me I couldn't do it, I prove them wrong. That was my mission in life, was to prove everyone
Yes.
wrong.
Yes.
And all that did was a disservice to myself. And it got to a point where I couldn't keep up. I couldn't keep up with just, I don't know, the image of what I was trying to portray. I couldn't keep up with having to constantly be that person that makes that much money and then also
Right.
still be happy.
That's a lot of
So
pressure
it's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure. And
and a
so I
lot
was
of
just,
heads
yeah. And the
and a
thing is,
lot of energy.
it's so much energy. It's so many parts of me that I was pretending to be so I could prove people in my past wrong that weren't even in my present.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. I
Yeah.
love that.
And so for me, that
I
was my
love that.
moment of like, I wanted, I knew I always wanted to be a coach for the industry. I just didn't know how or what way. And so as soon as I took a step back, I quietly took a step back from here. I'm all over social media. I didn't post anything about it. I didn't tell a soul. I just backed off. I just did my thing, and everyone's, and you're always like, I could be worried about what is everyone going to think, whatever. Got to the point where my mental health had to come first.
Yep.
And it was to the point where I needed to just be in my bed all day, every day and do nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And that was, and not feel guilty for it and
Yes.
let myself
That's the
process.
part.
Hmm.
Not feel guilty because that, yeah, because many times we need that and we know we're called to do that, and you feel guilty because you think you should be doing something. Why am I not doing something? I need to be doing something. I need to be over here, doing some hair, or I need to be, whatever, but I need to be doing something.
Hmm.
But you are doing something. You're taking care of your mental health.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you're diving into you is what I say.
Yeah. And I
That's
used to feel
powerful.
guilty for that
Yeah, me too.
because I think, and that's where it really stems from, a lot of that deep rooted parts of yourself. I call it the orphaned parts of yourself that we don't adopt into our lives because it's unsafe feeling. But if
Yeah.
you ever grew up in an environment like where you're made to feel guilty for having human emotions, or you're made to feel bad for focusing on yourself because it makes you selfish,
Right.
those things, that narrative, that's what I think is the catalyst for, not, I think it's a catalyst for a lot of driven, successful people, but I also think it's the catalyst for unhappy people and burnt out people. And I think the key is trying to harmonize. You have to define who you even are. What is success to you before you can even think about doing anything else? And so that's why I started doing all this work. And that's why I was like, well, no one's going to take me seriously. So I'm going to go get my certification. And so I went out and did that. And I've just been working with hairdressers and getting myself just out there more and just showing them that this is a different approach. It's very different. And I know that, but this works and it's helped not only myself, but other people that I've already worked with and that trusted me. It's like, I know I'm not the big guru out there. I don't have 100,000 followers, whatever, but people are trusting me because I want to
Well,
put
you're
the,
genuine
yeah, I want to put
and
the message
authentic.
out there that like, this is real life. Like
Yeah.
this is life or death for people. And I know for me, my whole life, everything was life or death. And so I take it very seriously.
Yeah. And that's good because we need people out there doing this work and actually helping people. Because, we talked in the green room where we were talking about how there's so much craziness going on in this coaching industry where, people are so driven by the money that they're not thinking about the people. And I mean, I think, well, I would hope that most people that got in this industry actually care about the people. I would hope. I'm gonna venture to say.
Yes, I would hope yeah, that's the biggest thing. I think a lot of the stuff that the the approach with embodiment work is different, and a lot of people are like, well, I don't want to, you think, well, I don't need to work on me, I just want to make money, that's what they're like. Well, what do you mean? I just tell me how to make more money. I don't want to do all this extra stuff. And it doesn't work that way, unfortunately. It just doesn't work that way. It can't.
No, it doesn't.
And I'll tell people, like, it's not a good fit. Like, I really, this is my approach. Like, there's no quick fix to anything, and I would rather take the long haul with somebody and do the extra work to know that they're going to be not only okay, but I want them to have that confidence in themselves that they didn't have before they came to me. Or, that the smallest thing of confidence is, it sounds so small, and it's like, well, really, truthfully, like, that's going to be that first little bump that you need. It's not, you can have, I would have business coaches that I would pay so much money for, and they helped in some aspects, right? Like, there was a role they played, but you could have all the numbers laid out in front of me, and it would be like the clear path to this glorious year-long income, right? But at the end of the day, it was still, it I wasn't happy. Nothing felt like it was like, it didn't matter also, because you can lay all the numbers out in front of somebody and say, here you go, I'm going to give this to you, this is going to make you successful. But if you don't know how to implement that and how that to your unique life, it's not going to matter anyways.
And how much do you feel like the energy matters? Because I know that I've been in some containers where, all they focus on was strategy, strategy, strategy. And they're like, oh, if you do this and do that and you get the numbers and da 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 da. But what I find is that energy matters. Because I really truly believe that energy is what draws the people. Your energy is what draws the people.
Yeah.
And so do you think that the work that you do with the hairdressers, do you think that it is, do you feel like you want to scale it? Or do you feel like, how do you feel about that?
I feel like at some point there's potential for it to be scalable, but I purposely, I personally feel that I've thought about that, and I don't think that the value would truly be there for the person individually in a, I don't know, quote unquote, scalable sense. I mean, there's some ways that you can get a group of people together and help them all at once. But I think that specifically my current approach is more intended for just long-term
One-to-one.
private one-on-one work. I think that if something needs to be scalable, obviously the value and impact for their lives to change needs to be there. But I'm not willing to just quickly put together a quick program just to do that. I'm going to take as many years as this needs to perfect so that it can be scalable, but in a sense where I'm not losing the vision of what the purpose is, because the culture of what I'm trying to build is all about humanity and healing and nourishment and truth and true change. But that's a hard one. I don't know. Yeah, I want to scale it, right? But I also want to make sure people are getting the right, like, the help that they're paying for, the attention and the devotion and the energy that they're paying for. And I think that in a group environment, there's places for that, but I think something so vulnerable and so deep, I'm not really quite sure, honestly.
Yeah, because it
So,
almost feels like maybe you don't feel like the integrity will be maintained in that kind of container,
right. Yeah.
and I feel the same. It's like because I've been in containers where they're like, oh, well, just do this group program and blah, 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 and this, that, and the third. And I said, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I don't want to. I was like, I don't want it. I don't want to do it that way. I was like, I need to do it, this way, because
Oh, I think we froze. Oh no, I think we lost each other here. I think we lost each other. Oh no. I can't hear you anymore either. um oh, let's see.
I know you've been blown away with the amazing value here today. Now go out and inspire the planet. And be sure to send us a message when you're ready to come talk about it on Straight Outta Savannah, Talking with Tammi.
I am so excited to share about my new 4-week program, Journey to Radical Acceptance. It is 4 weeks of one-to-one coaching and healing between you and myself. So, the thing that makes me so excited about it is I am offering it for the very first time. And so it's in the beta. And so it's a super, super, super low price. And so for 4 weeks of one-to-one sessions, 60 minutes, which we will go into all the things of who you are and all the things of what your gifts are. You'll get your DNA activated. We'll also do healings on each and every one of the calls. I am so excited about it. So for 4 weeks, the Journey to Radical Acceptance is priced at $222. And if you need a payment plan, we can work with that as well. So I'm super, super grateful for that. And if that is something that you are looking for, reach out to me. My details are always in the show notes. You can send me an email, or if you follow me on social media, I'm on Facebook, on TikTok, on YouTube, on Instagram. You can, or in LinkedIn. So you can reach out to me there as well. Thank you so much. Bye.